puppy dog has grown quite a bit since a month ago when I saw some of you. Welcome to the live broadcast tonight. This is exciting. We have really changed our tune and have musicians with us tonight. And we're going to hear from singer-songwriter Natalie Jane. And hopefully Liza's, can you get Liza down from the guitar? So welcome to the Purple Door Studio. We're going to start with saying hello to Liza. Can you hear me? Great.
Yeah. I need to get you closer to the microphone, Jane.
Okay, is that good?
Better, yeah.
Oh, good. So I feel like I should be singing, but I can't be. Okay, so we are live now, right?
Yep.
Oh, good. So meet Liza Minnelli. You think that she'd be singing, but she's only a 4-month-old puppy. But we wanted to welcome you all tonight for coming and to listen to some wonderful music. I can't handle her. She's 4 months old. So can you tell it's live? We're not cutting out a thing. We're just going to use all of it. So the music you're hearing in the background is the Natalie Jane Band, and we're going to feature some of their pieces. They have original work. But I thought we'd start this evening with a couple of my collages and talking about what it is that I do when I make collages. I really first thought I was going to be more of a writer than a painter. And so I've always collected articles and images and put them into notebooks since I was about 10 years old. And I have so many pieces that could be collage materials. And over the years, I had sort of noticed how they were categorized or not categorized into sort of a chaotic thing. But the subjects that I've always liked have fallen into history. And tonight you'll see a piece that I focused on Ben Franklin. And also, I've always loved astronomy. So this show is really sort of a little bit of a combo platter of the different works that I do. And I think in the future, I'm actually going to do more of a very focused, what everybody calls now a deep dive into one aspect of my work. But tonight's going to be much more lighthearted in the sense that you'll see a couple collages. And what I work on them, I am always ripping stuff out of magazines or copying something from the computer. And I really find that they find their way into my work in such unusual ways. And in some ways, it's just like the free association that I see from Ben Franklin $100 bill. I saw it blown up really large, and I thought, oh, I love the idea of a piece where you feel like you're looking into Ben Franklin's eyes. And so the first piece is called Ben Franklin Reflections. And it really is about a mysterious story because you go like, well, I see Ben Franklin, I see the pagoda, and I see it all in red. Does red mean like we're in debt, or what does that mean? So there's all of these things that you add to the history of the artwork. So I'd like to introduce Daniel. He's the producer tonight. He's coming to us live from Venezuela. Daniel, can you put up that first Ben Franklin piece?
It is up, Jane. Thank you for the introduction.
Oh, good. It is up. So this is the size of the piece, actually. It's very small. But, Ben Franklin lived in the 1700s, 6 to 1790s. You can imagine how much was going on in our world. We feel like that's nothing compared to today. But I bet historians would say it was a lot. There's a lot of things that were similar. So this piece has some very ode to Franklin in that he was a printer. So I've used a print of the north, south, east, and west. And again, the narrative sort of falls into this little woman. And I think what's fun about having these to live with is that you go by them and you see something new every day, that it's made with fabric and it's made with glass. And again, I collect these things over the years, and then really it takes about a year. They sit on a table and I move things around and keep moving them around. And in some ways, till I'm entertained. This is a small piece and it's 8 by 10, and I did it probably 10 years ago. And I'm just like starting to look back at some of these works. And you'll find that if you go on my website, I'm always doing the same like 5 different things, at least not 10 or something. But and this one again is small but very powerful, and it's very funny that it has a man walking with the Mona Lisa coming out of the piece. So am I talking close enough to the mic?
Yeah, that's better.
Good. Oh, good. So anyway, this is called Ben Franklin, and I can't see the other part of the screen. I guess that's okay. So we're going to move on, and I'm going to show you the next piece. This one is very similar in how I made it, and it's Ulubanula lives here, which is really sort of like a bit of a joke, but it's I find it amusing, and the imagery is interesting. This is on masonite, and it's actually has epoxy over it, so it's very glossy, and it's got a couple different layers to it. And Ulubanula is a fairy queen out of Russia, and this is when I called the show the Library of Dreams. That is for real. And part of the artist talking so much is it's like, but what are you seeing when you look at this? Well, hopefully you did notice that this is the Chrysler Building in New York all lit up. And I just thought it was very funny to say that Ulubanula lives here. These are her favorite places to go. And this is a wonderful central Russian Orthodox church in Kazakhstan. And it sits high above the rest of on a park. And it just seems like, and it's been a performance space. It's been many things through history, and again, is now a church again, but it's very important to that part of the world. And I just thought, of course, that's where she would live. So this has a sense of like a book of things in different places. It also shows southern France, and who doesn't want to be there? Or if you haven't been there, you want to be there. So are there any questions, people that I should be talking with? Are there anybody have some questions?
No questions so far, but I'll let you know, Jane. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Because I talk so much, there are no questions. I can fill you in on whatever it is you need to know. Okay, good. All right. So you can get a good idea of how this piece is. So and also what's exciting about this is you can change the scale of all of these. This is on masonite, and I often don't sign my work until after it's sold. I don't know why. It's kind of fun in front of the collector to actually sign it, because that's kind of great. So, and often there's a lot more writing on the back, because I would have my little cheat notes about Ulubanula, but I remember about her. So, and I also keep notebooks. But what's funny is now I write the information usually right into the artwork, so I don't have to go find it. So if you would get really close to this, you'll see that there's metallics and different. It says Ulubanula lives here, so it helps me to remember. Because each day I work, I begin the day with some challenges that I want to solve, either through color or through the meaning. But over time, the next day I come in and I might not feel that way, and that's part of the excitement of the creative process, actually, because you are constantly editing and changing. Okay, I think it's time for a song.
All right. All right.
Why not?
Yes. So, Jane, thank you so much for having us here today.
Yes.
We're super excited to be here in this incredible space with all this amazing artwork. It's truly a privilege. So we're going to start out sharing a song called Our Souls Begin to Dance. This is an original song, and it's a love song. Can you hear the rhythm of the rain dancing down upon the window pane? It's a lullaby, I close my eyes. Tiny drops making melody, singing songs, serendipity. It's a lullaby, I close my eyes. Then in my dreams you come to me, bit by bit undo me, and beat by beat you sweep me off my feet. Never knew our love would grow so strong. And did you think it ever last this long? Thought it might be a crush biding its time. Still, in my dreams you come to me. I look in your eyes and my heart skips a beat. Reaching out, you take me by the hand. You pull me close and our souls begin to dance. You pull me close and our souls begin to dance.
That was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And our souls begin to dance.
Yes.
That is so wonderful. Is that an original from?
It is an original, yes.
And nothing you wrote?
Yes, we did.
Natalie wrote that.
Yes.
That's great. So I'm sure that when I'm talking about collages, you can relate to trying to find exactly the right word. And I would think that when you came up with the souls begin to dance, was that an easy, or was that like, did it happen immediately, or was it?
Yeah, you know, I was up in the attic and I was just
In the
toying
attic.
around. Yeah, that was my creative space for a long time, and I was just fiddling with the sounds, and I felt like it sounded like rain. As a matter of fact, I think it was raining outside, and I was thinking about my husband actually, and I just was that.
Yeah,
here it
it's a
came.
wonderful love song. That was
Thank you.
very, very touching.
Thank you.
But there is that similarity that you put things together and you're not exactly sure what they're doing together.
Yes.
But if you give it time and edit it, it does eventually sort of come together. I'd say that my collages are always mysterious stories for people to sort of go and think about their own connections within that. And I think that that kind of work is interesting because you do bring your own history to it and your own narrative, where some of my work is much more splashy and just open color, that is much more emotional than it is that you're really thinking about the specific stories. You touch it more immediately. But I'm going to show you a collage now that is called Saturn, but it's really one of the really early pieces when I started feeling like, why am I writing everything in my notebook and then translating it into my artwork? Why don't I just write it right in the piece? And so this next piece is called Saturn. But I feel like you could get to Saturn if you had one of Forbes's wonderful motorcycles. Remember, he got into motorcycles. And this piece actually has a couple phrases from Dante, and the one that I really love is that he said, "I fixed my mind on the other pole, and I saw the stars, but the stars were actually the Southern Cross." And it's funny that this piece and a later piece we're going to show, it's called My Life on a Sailboat. I talk about being able to see the Southern Cross and how much that affected my young mind in the idea of like, wow, these are stars that are different than from where I live. I know this sounds like this huge, massive thought, but those moments, those aha moments really have stayed with me in all of my artwork. This piece is actually on wood, and it's mixed media for sure. It's got spray paint and fabric, and is really fun to live with. Art and I've had this in our house for a while and really enjoyed it because it's so energized, and it's a pretty big piece. Now, I have to mention this, that occasionally my collectors take work like this, they see it, and we actually blow it up to a really large scale on canvas. So even though this is 12 by 36, and I'm offering the original piece tonight, over time, I found that I've always had an interest in switching scale, like making it small, making it larger, and it really affects the work. So that you can see here, you see Saturn, but if you really keep looking at it, it's like this looks like a blurry, beautiful color. So the next piece is sort of related to, oh, getting far away from my mic. The next piece is really fun, and it's from earlier works that I used to do called The Fun School of Fish. And this is what made me even get excited about printing at all, because the originals of this piece are made with feathers and glitter and buttons, and over time that's really, really difficult because the bugs want to get to it. Especially these pieces live in Florida. So there was a really practical part to this story it was the beginning of giclée printing in the 90s. So I put all of my Fun School of Fish work into prints, and I sold more of the prints. And that led to the idea of being one removed from the originals, which I've always thought was an interesting idea, that maybe that is the artwork rather than the original. And certainly with the Fun School of Fish, that's what happened. And this is a watercolor print from an original, but the detail of it is amazing. And it's got seashells and glitter, and if you've ever done any snorkeling, it's amazing to see what's going on underneath the water. It's really great. So the joy of that experience is definitely in this piece. And it's a watercolor, and it is, I'm not sure of the size. Daniel, can you tell us the size?
Of course, the size is 16 by 22.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess I could measure it, right? No need to. So the next couple pieces we're going to look at are about the library. And I love the library as a metaphor because it's like with a book, you can be transformed anywhere. And it's just something I like to have a couple books going at a time. Usually, I know I'm going to admit this, usually one's like a self-help book because, there's always room for improvement. And one is usually a biography, and usually one is just a novel or something that's like interesting right now, I mean, I love City of Girls right now. I just finished that. Elizabeth, I can't think of her last name. She wrote Eat, Pray, and Love, and I didn't like that at all. But I like everything else she does. And if somebody had told me that, read this book, I would have been like, no, I'm not reading that book because I thought that was so drippy. I'm so honest about how I feel about things. I guess everybody knows that about me, so there you go. Okay, so I love books for the reason, really more because of the metaphor of what they represent, of the freedom that it gives you and the knowledge it gives you. And that's why I'm such an advocate for literacy. If you don't have the ability to understand your environment, it's kind of great to go to a foreign country and not understand the environment to let you know what it would be like to not be able to read. I think it's a really important moment. You go, because we're thinking of Portugal, and it's like, boy, what do we know of Portuguese, right, Art? Like, right. Not much, but, that's kind of a wonderful experience. Exactly. When are we going? After the show. So I'm going to show a couple of the library pieces, and I've always called this series the Library of Thought because, again, they're abstracted ideas, and it's mainly just the interest I had in the binding of the books, and that if you're walking through the library, eventually you almost have to get a book, and you don't even know what book you're going to get. And I think that that's kind of a great story of our lives as well, and to allow that to happen. So this next, I'll show you a piece, and then I think we could hear some more music, or if you want to, either way.
Jane, can I ask a quick question?
Yes. Is this work available?
Well, I know the answer to that question.
Right.
When you finish up around 7, would
everybody like to come for pizza?
like to stick around for some pizza? Some Russo's pizza? Or do you have to get going? Or?
Okay, so...
Don't have to get going.
That sounds good. I don't have to get
Okay, so...
You okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Then I'll get it warmed up.
All right.
My concierge is here. Thanks, Art.
Yes,
He's
thank
thinking
you.
of us after the show. Amazing. So these are some of the original first pieces, and I used to paint images of about my studio, but these were the first that I started really mimicking the scale of the shelves. I'm getting so far away from here.
You could
I
pull
get
it
so
over.
excited. It's like,
You
hey,
can pull
look
it
at
over
this.
if you'd like.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. These are small on canvas, but again, they have the idea of like both being the book binding, but also being, if you look at it, starts looking like spaces like attics, like where Natalie does her writing.
That's right.
That it's very solid, and then the more you look at it, there's these really big open spaces. And again, it's like to open up your mind more when you do reading. So, and these kind of could make a cool set. I've seen a lot of collectors that have bought a couple that these are 10 by 20. And again, they're earlier pieces, not that they're different. I still love this idea of using the horizon line, and it's just two shelves that you see. And of course, it has that sense of like doorway and window about it as well. Mm-hmm. And I tend to use a certain palette for this work that's developed over the years. So they're both, I think they're 10 by 20s, and they're acrylic on canvas. You guys are so quiet. Does anybody have any questions, or do I just like do any? So next piece I'm going to show is called Library of Dreams, and it was even earlier than this work when I started. Just like I always like Stonehenge and images like that, so I thought, you know what? I just played around with it. I thought I've always liked moving on a horizon line and having several horizon lines, and then it's like, oh, but that's really a lot like books on a shelf. So they're not like these, people think it's like these, some of the most basic ideas are actually the best, and they give you the format with which to work and say what you want to say. So I, again, have used that format for pretty many years, and I still am completely excited about it. So I guess it's here to stay for a while. Sometimes I do one or two pieces, and I'm like, that's it. That's my really mature style. Well, I've learned that my mature style is 5 different styles. And so when I do exhibitions, I usually do just one idea. And as I said, the next exhibition that I'm doing will be that way, and the next live show I do here will be that way. That it'll be sort of one aspect of all of my work. I'm thinking the audience series, because I took the audience series, and they're really just marked, beautiful lines and patterns that remind you of a crowd of people. And then I transform them into tote bags. So that's pretty different, but that's for another day. So I want to show you this Library of Dreams. It's a small piece. And by the way, is anybody thirsty? Cheers, dears. So this piece is small. It's I think it's 10 by 10. And again, this one is an very early piece within this series. And I did this looking at the idea of like, and as you can see, it's like almost like then the importance of the pattern of the books together really grew. And this one looks just like a sunny yellow, dusty landscape. And again, I've always been amazed by Stonehenge and all of the things that you see in Ireland and Scotland. Unbelievable. And they are tablets. And earlier works of mine were called the moon tablets. So there is a natural progression and development that, I don't know, you just have to work through it. And you can't really decide ahead of time of what that's going to be. You can identify that I love books. You can identify some things, but the actual process and what it eventually becomes is not really a known factor. And anybody who says it is, that's not true. Because that's the excitement of creating, is that process. So this is called the Library of Dreams, and it's 10 by 10, and it's got a 2-inch wood. It's all done on wood, and it could live at your house. It's at my house now, at the Purple Door. But, all right. Should we like to hear some more music? I would.
Yeah.
Sure. So this is a song I wrote a few years ago. It's called To the Moon and Back. It came from the little plaque my daughter got me that says, I love you to the moon and back. Yeah. So I just looked at that and thought, I think there's a song in here somewhere. So that's where this came from. And these guys help out, so.
There.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. not sure what day it is, but I'm still living. Been traveling so far, can't recollect what towns I've been in. So I close my eyes, try to pull myself in, tell my body and mind to relax. A whisper of words is all that I hear. I love you to the moon and back. East of some city, I was dreaming of fields that just went on and on and on. Somewhere in Iowa, I guess that's where we were gonna play our song. Day after day, it all seems the same. Set up, tear down and pack. Get in the truck, and as I drift off to sleep, I hear I love you to the moon and back. Well, I need to stop running, there's no road up ahead. One day that's just what I'll do. Sooner than better, before the end of the line, and I hope against hope I'll find you. Oh, love is a funny thing. Don't keep account of what is wrong or right. Fall one step forward, dance two steps back, and grab with all my might. Nothing comes easy, at least not for me, but I think I'm on the right track when I take to heart the words that you say. I love you to the moon and back. Well, I need to stop running, there's no road up ahead. One day that's just what I'll do. Sooner than better, for the end of the line, and I hope against hope I'll find you. So I close my eyes, try to pull myself in, tell my body and mind to relax. A whisper of words is all that I hear. I love you to the moon and back. A whisper of words is all that I hear. I love you to the moon and back.
I love having you guys here, the moon and back. Thank you so much. I've always thought that my music has always been the way that I talk about abstraction and what it is that I do, because I think it's the easiest way to understand something that you don't physically see. And then it's interesting that I'm making it something that you see, but I tend to love the abstraction from nature, the abstraction from thought, so that it's one removed, and it's sort of putting some pressure in some ways on the viewer. I'm just like that. Pedantic, what can I say? It's like, well, I feel like, you should be involved as well. And that does not mean, I look forward to the day, I hope that maybe Marie is on listening, because one day I'm hoping to have someone who does very realistic artwork that's related really to the Dutch still lives. And I thought, because it's not that I like all aspects of work, it's just that my particular voice comes from the ideas that are in some ways like one step removed. And this next piece is a good example of a lot of my early work was very influenced. My first love was Matisse and Monet, all the M's. and I emulated their work for years and always felt that my voice would be there anyway. And that was a great choice that I made. Not that I'm putting myself with the greatest, but they did influence myself. They did influence me. And I think it's always interesting to know that. So this next piece is called Each Passing Day. Could be a song. And it's a acrylic on canvas. And it really sort of looks like a planet or a terrarium. And it also looks like it's about to flip or change a lot. And there's the idea, the abstraction almost is looking like a woman with red hair and a golden hair that goes all the way across the terrarium. And there's a lot of metallic paint. It's a small piece. I think it's 11 by, that's why it's so great to have you helping me, Daniel.
16 by 13, Jane.
Oh, thank you. What would I do without you? Oh my gosh. I'd probably be pretty, okay, even more goofy than I am. Okay. But this piece is really sort of, in some ways, sort of my more traditional work, and it's very colorful. I think you can sense that from there. And it does look like the horizon line almost looks like it's falling off, that you sense that there's not really a lot of space behind that, that it's very flat. But there's also this almost like protractor or measuring device that's in front of the planet that's sort of giving you an idea of like what, again, it's like what's exactly going on. It's great lush landscape, and it's a small painting, and it's already framed on wood, and it's called Each Passing Day. And I think that we all sort of look at our work that way. What did we get done today? What do we get done tomorrow? And are you the kind of person that puts it on the list after you've done it and crosses it off for each passing day? Or in today's world, you keep putting it onto the next day on your phone. But it's kind of fun to see this large scale here because it's a small painting, but it has been blown up and put into print on metal. And metal's an amazing surface that has a lot of reflective qualities. And you can see that in the reproduction we have here that is put in a beautiful home. So again, this is the original that is up for grabs tonight. Each Passing Day, it's the original. And I think you can see the metallic on there. Hey, nice switch there. Daniel, very nice switch. Again, the lighting is a little bit confusing on this piece. But anyway, it's really a very full, rich painting, full of color, and it also has a lot of movement when you think it's just a little piece, 11 by 14, but it really, you can sense the weather in it. I love weather report, weather everything. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at is, again, that's totally affected by, I don't paint a lot of flowers, but I've always really loved pansies. And I think anything, and my favorite, most inspired time of year is the springtime. After we've been in the cold Northeast, it's really wonderful to see the flowers actually coming up. Or, these are amazing because you see them in London in January. Who would think of that? But you do. Really exciting because it's so wet there. Oh, yeah, but you guys probably knew that. So I love pansies. I painted them for 30 years. Pansies, tulips. And this is a piece that I did last year, and it does have the moving and dance feel of a group of figures, even though it is. And I was thinking about, just how pansies are like so heavy in the rain, how they really sort of droop, and you can't really see the structure of them because they're just drooping. But I think that's amazingly beautiful. I like flowers when they're dead. I mean, I think they're just beautiful because it's like seeing the whole process from beginning to end. So I tend to keep flowers longer than most people would. That's the truth. But this one is a small canvas, but I love this. So if you see here, my stylist, Daniel, did an amazing job and blew this piece up. And that's something that you could certainly get a print of and get that kind of scale. And in that scale, you really see the motion and the moving through the space that you do in the small piece, but it's even more profound in a larger scale. Does anybody have a question? What were you thinking? I was thinking about pansies. I know. They're like, yeah, it seems like a lot more. This is pretty dense as far as, but again, part of my work is really about the forest and about that organic growth and looking at something when it's in a transition that's almost hard to recognize. And that would be pansies that are like fallen by the rain. And it's like, what are we looking at? And so this is inspired by that. And I've always done some paintings of flowers. I can't say that that's something that I focus on, but when it catches my attention, it might take me a couple weeks, and that's what I do. So it's whatever really sort of hits me at that moment. So this is a canvas piece, and it's 11 by 14. See, I did know that one. Okay, so let's see. I would like to show you. This is the monumental. My life on the sailboat. This brings us back to the Southern Cross, which was something that influenced me. So you can see this piece brings together a couple of the different things that I've shown earlier tonight, in the sense that it looks like books. Oh, I do that all the time. Hello, I'm really right here. Yes, I know. I need to do my more radio shows. I'll be all set. Thanks, Clark. Thanks all of you for being here. Clark's been here. This is his second round, and he's just getting better and better at making sure things work really well. And not to mention, this is top secret, but Clark Kent is here tonight. I know, you don't even like to tell people that because they're like so jealous, but that's how it is. I'm lucky. So this piece, of course, has a sense of water, and it also is, I spent a week on a sailboat, and just being out in a small boat in the Caribbean and experiencing the night sky and how influenced each day was just by the weather and how vulnerable you really were, really did affect my artwork. And it led me to really loving ambiguity spatially, because it's like, well, where are you? Are you below the earth? Are you above the earth? So my work has always had that sort of quality of you don't have the comfort of knowing exactly where you're located. This one's, again, this brings in some of the narrative. It brings in some of my interest in waterscapes, seascapes, and there's really quite the story to tell here. There's everything from a deck of cards to candles and just the things that sort of you would think might show up if you're living on a boat. And of course, if you look at it carefully, you can really see how fast the wind is moving. You can catch the sense of change from one side to the other. This one's 12 by 36. This is an original, and it's got a mate. I don't know where that mate is called. Drop anchor. I don't know where that is right now, but that kind of works too. But you can get a sense of the library, as well as that. Oh, there you can see the candle, the red and white candle on the bottom. And I like that there's real hidden imagery that over time you can see it, and when you first look at it, you feel like you're looking at a really busy landscape, seascape, and over time it settles down, just like, you're on a boat, and eventually you'll have an open space. This is really fun. This is this piece blown up to about 6 feet, and we've done that for a couple clients, and it's worked out so beautifully because the images just become more relevant, and they're easier to locate because you're like, oh my gosh, that's a huge candle, or is that a buoy? And you can really sense some of the ambiguities that things are a couple things. They're not just one thing. But this is the original, and if originals are what you're interested in, this one is available for you to have your own story of the life on a sailboat.
I have a question.
Oh, good. Yes.
So, what was the first thing on that board when you started?
I start with the background coloration.
Okay.
I start with knowing I want to put several different layers of the horizon line, because when you're on a boat, it's so hard to tell. It's always changing. And so that there's that sense of motion. So I first start with, I often will have like a big group of collage pieces that I think work together, and I play around with them. But I start with the wood and start with the coloration. And sometimes one of the pieces I'm going to show you, really became finished without any collage work. So I really listened to the artwork, and I'd say I give it. Everybody always asks, how long did it take to make that? And I say probably 60 years. But you're not supposed to say that. But the reality is, and I don't know who said it, but somebody said it best, and they said, you do one painting your whole life, you do one song your whole life, because what you're doing is just refining your voice, but you're living your life and doing all the things that everybody else does as well. You know, you're still paying your bills and you're still walking your dog or putting up with your little Liza Minnelli puppy, whatever it is. And that makes you a stronger artist and a different artist every day, whether you're a mother, whatever it is. And so, but I think some of your voice, it just, it grows and changes with you. And that's really exciting. And, you know, the historians get to decide, well, which part of it was the most interesting. You don't really have time, or you just need to do your work, and that's all you need to do. And it's funny because it's like, that's what you do when I go to work and I'm like, well, I think I like this pile of collage pieces for this work. And the next piece, so this is My Life on a Sailboat. And I would call this a very finished, you know, some works are more sketches. This is a really finished piece that I've also thought about putting like the epoxy on it would look kind of cool to give it that shine and finish. It's sort of, but we'll see. I don't know. So let's see, what else should we look at? So this is the last piece, and this is really funny because this is an example of I started this piece and I felt that it finished itself, and it needed to just be books on a shelf or an abstraction. It didn't really ask for anything else. And sometimes I feel, and when you said how long does it take to do a piece, well, I'd say I don't do anything faster than 6 to 8 weeks, because I do 3 or 4 to 10 pieces at a time, and oh my goodness, I need my radio show. So I really just look. I wanted to show this piece, and I've called it the Green Library, just because it made sense to me. It's not like Can you imagine me not having something to say? That's not possible. We will get back to the musicians. But this is called the Green Library, really, because it was St. Patty's Day. It was time to name it. And I thought, well, green means growth. It means healthy. And this just has a really spring sense and smell to it that is unique to this piece. And part of it is allowing the time and the judgment to just edit through a piece and allow the voice to be what it's going to be, and not necessarily decide ahead of time. I spend many hours with students I used to talking about when is it finished. And it's like a conversation, I think, that at some point you go like, well, there's been enough said. I'm not sure I need to diagnose it any further. But you need to give enough information that the person is spurred or is interested enough to look at it again and again. And this piece has a certain really formal quality, but it also, when you get and you see it in person, there's really smudgy work that's sort of like more like a chalkboard, and what happens when you rewrite something and refix it. And I like that I show the process here, that there's not this really finished edge like I require when I do my button bracelets or something. They really have to be finished. You can't leave a thread half out. I mean, it doesn't work. But in painting, and that's kind of the fun and the different disciplines that I love working with, because certain things are just required. This is, I think it's 10 by 20 on wood. And
12 by 24, Jane.
12 by 24. What do I know? Thank goodness Daniel's here to keep us straight. So, hi to all of those people listening out there. Would you like to ask me any questions? What made you think about this? Because I like books.
We
I
have a
like
comment
discussion.
actually, but it isn't a question. It's from Rocks34 saying, "Yes, Jane," and the face heart emojis.
Oh, good. Well, that's great. Well, thank you for being here. We're going to be so blessed and listen to Natalie Jane now. So stay tuned. And if you do have questions, put them in the comments. Very nice to hear from you guys. Oh, I see Roxy. Very nice. Good. What would you like to sing?
We're going to finish up with Deep River Blues, which is not an original, but a fun one.
We know Deep River Blues. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Watson.
Yeah.
3, 4. Let it rain, let it pour, let it rain a whole lot more. 'Cause I've got them deep river blues. Let the rain drive right on, let the waves sweep along. 'Cause I've got them deep river blues. My old gal is a good old pal. She just comes like a waterfall. And I get them deep river blues. Ain't no one to cry for me. And the fish all go out on a spree. And I get them deep river blues.
All right, Dan.
Give me back my old coat.
I'm gonna sail it till flow. 'Cause I got them deep river blues. I'm going down to Muscle Shoals. Times are better there, I'm told. 'Cause I've got them deep river blues.
If my boat sinks with me, I'll go down, don't you see?
'Cause I've got them deep river blues. Now I'm gonna say goodbye. And if I sing, just let me die. 'Cause I've got them deep river blues.
Let it rain, let it pour, let it rain a whole lot more. 'Cause I've got them deep river blues.
Let the rain drive right on. And let the waves sweep along. 'Cause I've got them deep river. I've got them deep river. I've got them deep river.
Thank you so much. A concert right here in the Purple Door studio. Really great. Well, thank you for that song to wrap it up. This artwork will be on sale until Sunday. You can go to the website and take a look and see some of the artworks that haven't been sold. But thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
We'll be back. I promise.